Hello and welcome. This is Press TV's News Review. Russia says Armenia and Azerbaijan have agreed to sit down for talks to end their fighting over the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region. Russia says the two countries will send their foreign ministers to Moscow for the negotiations. Armenian and Azeri officials have not independently made any comments. France and the U.S. had earlier expressed readiness to host mediatory talks too. Heavy clashes broke out between Azerbaijani forces and Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh in late September. Armenian authorities have reported over 350 military and 20 civilian deaths for their side. Azerbaijan has confirmed nearly as many civilian deaths, but has not disclosed information about its military casualties. Azerbaijan insists Armenia must set a timetable for withdrawing from Nagorno-Karabakh. Well, I'm going to help you set a discussion on that for you through the help of gentlemen who join us for this part of the program. To the right of your screens, left of your screens, you see Mr. Marcus Papadopoulos. He's a publisher and editor with Politics First via Skype out of London. Right next to him, I have Yusuf Erim. He is a journalist and political analyst who joins us via Skype out of Istanbul. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen, for joining our broadcast. I'm going to begin with London, perhaps some reaction as to why should this even begin every now and then? And, you know, what's your reaction to what is happening at the moment? The claim at this point, let's just say that Russia says that these two countries are going to sit down for talks in its territory.
There is a lot of ignorance and misconception about the South Caucasus. So allow me to clarify the situation regarding the geopolitics of the aforementioned region. Russia is the predominant outside force in the South Caucasus, and both Armenia and Azerbaijan are firmly in Russia's orbit, politically, economically, and militarily. It therefore follows that Russia is neither supporting Armenia over Azerbaijan, nor is Russia supporting Azerbaijan over Armenia. There are some commentators who over the last few weeks have contended that Russia is supporting Armenia because Armenia is a Christian country, specifically a Christian Orthodox country. No, that is merely simple-minded analysis by simple-minded people. And indeed, in recent years, Azerbaijan has drifted deeper and deeper into Russia's orbit, in particular because America and the European Union have increased their rhetoric, alleging that the Azerbaijani authorities are undemocratic and on a frequent basis violate human rights. And Russia is giving political cover to Azerbaijan. Now, there was never going to be a war between Armenia and Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh. I said so a few weeks ago. What we have seen is a flare-up in violence, but Russia has tremendous influence over both Baku and Yerevan, and Russia will not allow a war to break out between Armenia and Azerbaijan, because in such a scenario, that war could spill over into Russia's, specifically Chechnya, Ingushetia, and Dagestan. And if Russia's North Caucasus becomes destabilized, then that could pose a very serious territorial threat to the Russian Federation. So under no circumstances will Russia allow a war to break out. Also, it should be noted that Russia and Turkey are regional rivals, and for centuries now they have attempted to check each other's influence and power in the region. So in the 1990s, Chechnya supported Turkey supported Chechen extremists, hoping to destabilize Russia's position in the North Caucasus, and at the same time, Russia supported the PKK, a Kurdish freedom movement. And Russia is acutely aware that Turkey to try and weaken Russia's position in Syria is attempting to create a war in Russia's orbit, specifically a war between Azerbaijan and Armenia. So that is a continuation of regional rivalry between Russia and Turkey. Turkey has no interest per se in Nagorno-Karabakh. Turkey has close relations to Azerbaijan because most of the Azerbaijani people are of a Turkic origin. But Turkey is using its position in Azerbaijan to try and cause a war in what Russia calls the near abroad, the space of the former Soviet Union. But we must not exaggerate Turkey's position in Azerbaijan. As I said moments ago, Russia is the dominant power. That is why the Azerbaijanis and the Armenians are in Moscow to discuss ending this flare-up in violence.
And not even in the U.S., as the U.S. claims. Let's put that question to Yusuf Adim in Istanbul. Let's see what he has to tell us about the role that Russia is playing, saying that these two countries' representatives will soon be in Moscow for talks.
Well, I definitely agree with our friend in London that Russia is the dominant power in the post-Soviet space, and as it should be. These are both former republics of the Soviet Union, so it should be the dominant power. But Turkey also has a very big role to play geographically, being Armenia's neighbor, and its ideological, cultural, and hereditary bonds to Azerbaijan are undeniable as well. And Turkey does have great influence in Baku. Now, when we look at the role Russia has played historically throughout the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, dating back to 1923, Joseph Stalin's decision to continue to recognize Nagorno-Karabakh as part of Azerbaijan, upholding the territorial status quo in that region. Again, in 1988, when the Soviets ruled that Nagorno-Karabakh is again part of Azerbaijan, a decision that angered the Armenians, again saying that it was against the Soviet constitution to transfer Nagorno-Karabakh to Armenia. And even in 2016 and currently, Russian President Vladimir Putin's stance saying that this is Azerbaijani soil and the defense agreement between Armenia and Russia cannot be triggered because Russia is not obliged to defend Armenia on Azerbaijani soil. So we're seeing this very clear-cut official stance. Now, the official stance of Moscow and what happens on the ground at times has gotten blurry. We've seen in the past, and especially in the late 80s, there have been some Russian brigades supporting Armenia. But I think the previous rounds of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, especially in the 80s and 90s, and the more recent rounds of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict have a much different geopolitical dynamic, as Azerbaijan has become a much more important client for Russia, whether it be weapons, whether it be bilateral investment. Azerbaijan has gotten very rich with the discovery of natural gas and has much to offer Moscow. And we're seeing Moscow's official stance now also be supported by what's happening on the ground, with Russia taking a very distant position. Now, we're seeing many foreign actors call for a ceasefire, but while Azerbaijan is interested in a ceasefire as well, it depends on what conditions this ceasefire is going to be made under. If this is just going to be another refreeze of the conflict, well, we've seen what the previous 10 ceasefires have done. It's a 1, 2, 3 year refreeze, and then the conflict heats back up again. Azerbaijan wants a permanent solution. And what is a permanent solution? Well, a permanent solution was suggested with 4 UN Security Council resolutions back in 1993, 2 UNGA resolutions, and 3 OSCE Minsk Group resolutions, all saying the immediate withdrawal of Armenian troops from occupied territory and the return of said lands to Azerbaijan. So Turkey's trying to play a very supportive role, and I can definitely see Turkey and Russia, while our friend in London has said that they're rivals, we also have to understand that they're also they also like to play pragmatic roles with each other in these regional affairs, whether it be the Astana Group in Syria, whether it be the Moscow meeting regarding Libya that brought the leadership of the GNA together with Haftar trying to reach a deal. So we have seen Putin and Erdogan try to play a proactive role in these regional affairs. And if there are going to be foreign actors involved in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. I cannot see anyone else except for neighbor Turkey and Mother Russia. I'm calling them Mother because this is the post-Soviet space, sitting down at that table and as guarantors, as mediators, trying to bring these two sides together.
Okay. Marcus in London, Yusuf basically saying the continuation of the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, not in the interest of Turkey, not in the interest of Russia, nobody's. To what extent do you see it that? Well, let us not forget that, you know, there are hands at play here that say that they want to basically, under the disguise of a conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh, station elements of Al-Qaeda or even of Daesh in the region that is quite close to the Iranian borders. You know, that is another thing too. So what direction do you think, how important this meeting in Russia will be, basically to put an end to it, at least for now, and the direction that it will take regarding the regional threats that the continuation of this conflict might bring with itself?
Well, let me accentuate the point I made earlier. Russia and Azerbaijan have a very, very close relationship. As I said, Azerbaijan is entrenched in Russia's orbit, and there is a very close and strong rapport between Putin and the Azerbaijani leader, Aliyev. Indeed, Aliyev has frequently traveled to Russia over the last few years. And Azerbaijan is purchasing most now of its military equipment from the Russian Federation. And if we turn to the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh, well, Russia understands that this is a frozen conflict on the territory of the former Soviet Union that is not going to be resolved in the foreseeable future. But what Russia is attempting to do is to draw Armenia and Azerbaijan deeper and deeper into its orbit in the hope that Russia alone, not Turkey, Russia alone can come up with some sort of compromise which both Baku and Yerevan will agree with. Russia will not allow Turkey to play a role in the near abroad. Indeed, Russia will not allow any other country, America and China, for instance, to play a role in the near abroad. And Russia is very well aware that Turkey has sent Al-Qaeda and ISIS terrorists to Azerbaijan to fight against the Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. Now, that is not going down well with Russia, and that is simply one reason alone as to why Russia will not allow Turkey to play any role in the mediation between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan, even though they have close cultural relations with Turkey, they know who Big Brother is. They know who the motherland is, and Azerbaijan will not do anything to disgruntle Russia, because Azerbaijan will look at what happened to Georgia in 2008 and the repercussions of what happened to Georgia in 2008 at the hands of Russia still sending shockwaves through Baku.
Yes, and the memories of Crimea are still in the minds of many in the Eastern European bloc regarding what Russia can do territorially. Let's go back to Yusuf for one final question out of Istanbul. Yusuf, your reaction to what Marcus just said. And of course, let's just put that question to you as well, Yusuf. You know, a lot of people saying that the parties who lost the ground in Syria are trying to basically start a fire that is a lot closer to the Iranian as well as the Russian borders, and that is why the sensitivity of the Russians.
Well, when we look at the recent timeline of conflicts in the post-Soviet space, whether it be Crimea, whether it be Ossetia or Georgia, now Nagorno-Karabakh, we're seeing the distance between conflicts shortening and this post-Soviet space getting a shakeup right now. We're also seeing, obviously, political protests in some of the former republics as well. And I think it's very important to understand the socioeconomic and also cultural makeup of this region that's being shaken up. And it's a Muslim region, it's a Turkic region. So when this region gets shaken up, and if there is a restructuring, whether Russia likes it or not, Turkey will have either influence, will have a political view, a standpoint on these conflicts. And many of these people, due to their hereditary links, due to their cultural links to Turkey, will also be looking to Ankara for leadership or advice as well. Turkey has shown that what its support can do for Azerbaijan. We're seeing Turkish drones play a very, very big role in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict as Azerbaijan is dominating the skies. The world has seen what Turkey's support has done for the Syrian opposition and also the UN-recognized government of national accord in Libya as well. So Turkey has shown that its participation and support in any conflict can play a game-changer role. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to lead to any type of tension between Russia, but I think any type of shakeup in the post-Soviet space is going to trigger a flurry of Putin-Erdogan meetings, and I don't think that's a bad thing, because at the end of the day, this post-Soviet space is not going to be monopolized by Russia. Somebody's going to walk in there. Obviously, NATO, any NATO ally, putting Turkey aside because of its cultural and hereditary bonds to the region, would have to tiptoe into that region because this is the Soviet backyard, and any NATO ally stepping in there will cause tremendous tensions. So any wrong move and we can have a serious conflict. But Turkey and Russia, especially with the relationship between Erdogan and Putin, while some people are trying to downplay it and saying it as soured, I don't think it's soured. I think these are two very, very experienced politicians, two very pragmatic people that know how to talk to each other. And we're going to see both of them play an important role. As for what our friend in London said, I viewed most of what he said as sensible, but he lost me at the whole bringing in Daesh fighters or bringing in Al-Qaeda into Azerbaijan. That's not going to happen on Turkey's watch. And the socioeconomic structure, the religious views of the Azerbaijani people won't allow for that type of element to flourish in Azerbaijan either. Azerbaijanis are secular, they are mostly Shiite, and there's no operating space for any type of organization like Al-Qaeda or Daesh. They would be quickly dismantled by Azerbaijani intelligence or Turkish support.
I really hope for what the last sentence, I really hope for that to be true, Erim. Mr. Yusuf Erim, he is a journalist and political analyst who joined us via Skype out of Istanbul. Yusuf, I really appreciate your time, as well as Marcus Papadopoulos, publisher and editor with Politics First out of the British capital of London. Marcus, I really appreciate your time as well. And thank you, viewers, for being with Press TV and its news review this hour.